First and foremost, hi to everybody. Hope you guys have been having a great week. So tonight we were supposed to be talking about humility isn't hiding with my special guest. However, due to technical difficulties, for whatever reason, for the last 30 minutes, Facebook was not allowing me to share my lives publicly. So I don't know what's going on with that. I have to get that figured out. But I still wanted to get on here tonight and let you guys know what's going on so you're not just wondering where I am and what's happening. So yes, we had technical difficulties tonight, so our guest will not be joining us. However, I still wanted to make myself available to you all, not just to let you know what happened, but just to kind of change this up a little bit. So we're going to save this topic for another time, but I would love to just take a moment to connect with you all, see how everybody's doing, and just kind of check in with the tribe tonight, since we're not doing our regularly scheduled program. So how is everybody? How are you all doing? Hey, Jewel. Hey, Sean. Hey, Moses. Hey, Stephanie. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate y'all so much. But yeah, how's everybody doing? What's going on in your world? It's taking a second. Let me look at these comments here. Everybody doing good? Hey, Tanisha. Doing good? That's good, Stephanie. I'm glad you're doing well. Okay, so let's talk for a little bit, you guys. I still have some time here tonight, so let's just chat it up for a little bit. So I don't know what you guys have been going through in leadership lately, but let's just have a real conversation while we're here for a little bit. Is that okay? Let's just have a convo tonight. Overcoming, yes. Whew, that word. Overcoming, yes. Tonight is an overcoming night for sure. So I definitely feel you on that, Sean. But yeah, I think for me, especially in leadership right now, I've been going through a huge mindset shift. And when I say mindset shift, I think specifically just going from the grinding mindset to a governing mindset, right? That's where I've been lately, from grinding to governing. You guys will hear me say that a lot because I think you get to a point as a leader where you're just like, you know what? Hustling is just not for me, right? It's just not it. I don't want to be grinding for the rest of my life. I want to think big picture. I want to think legacy. I want to think about ways that I could work smarter and not harder. So that's kind of where I've been mentally lately, just restructuring my life in that way to where I can actually start governing my life instead of being stuck in a constant grind. And I think that's a very, very big part of authority in general, right? And what authority really means is taking control of your life instead of just letting life happen to you and figuring out what you want your life to look like and what type of leader that you want to be and what steps you want to take to make sure that you're living the life that you actually set out to live, because that's a big part of being a leader and being an entrepreneur, right? Like we didn't start businesses, we didn't start the things that we're doing just to be stuck in a constant grind or in a constant rat race, right? We established these things so we could create freedom, right? Freedom of our time, mental freedom, financial freedom. So there's so many reasons that we set out on this journey in leadership. And yeah, so I've just been exploring that and seeing what that looks like in my life and how that applies to me as an individual and as a leader, right? But let me hear from you guys. Have you ever experienced that shift, or are you currently experiencing that shift, like of saying, you know what, I'm tired of grinding. I think it's time for me to start governing in my life. I want to hear from you guys. Let me see. Sean said yes, huge shift, absolutely. Hey, Ludonica. She said yes. Clap, clap. I'm here for it. Awesome. Yes, that part, Sean. No, I'm serious because at the end of the day, like, can I just be real for a second? Can we just have an honest conversation tonight? Is that okay? Can I be honest with you guys? Is that cool? I think, our culture, period, we live in a very capitalistic society, right? So our culture, period, is all about grind, 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 hustle, 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 do more, become more, get more, achieve more. So it kind of just puts you in this mindset of always being in this go, go, go mode. But I'm really learning how powerful it is to rest in who you are, to rest in the authority that you have, to rest in the influence that you have and the impact that your influence has on other people. And when you move from a place of rest, from a place of being, it takes so much of that pressure off. It takes so much of that pressure off because now you can actually focus on leading, right? Right, just be. Half of this battle in life is learning how to just be because we spend so much time having everybody tell us who we should be, what we should do, how we should show up, how we should do this, right? But it's getting back to the root of who you are, getting back to the root of why you're here and what you set out to do. That's what really matters, and getting into alignment with that. So that's kind of where I've been. I would love to hear from you guys. And do you have any questions about how to make that shift from grinding to governing? Let me know in these comments. Let's talk about it. Steffi said, be real. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, let me see what you guys are saying. I'm over here looking at the comment section. Jules said, I resonate wholeheartedly with that. Yes. And it's tiring, right? I don't want to live that way. I don't want to live that way at all. I want no parts of it. And the good news is that you don't have to, right? Like there's literally an internal mindset shift that happens when you start operating from a place of being. And I think if nothing else this year, that's what I have been mastering, just being and governing from a place of being. Stephanie said, I'm finding it hard to shift from the W-2 mindset to entrepreneur, business owner mindset. That's a hard shift to make. And a lot of people don't talk about that shift, Stephanie. So I'm glad you said that. A lot of people don't talk about that, right? A lot of people don't talk about the how. And I think a lot of times, like we get online and we see people talk about, this is where I am now, but not a lot of people take the time to actually document the process so they can share it with other people. But it's literally in the everyday decisions, right? It's everyday decisions that you have to make just to restructure your entire life. Like starting with, something as simple as how do I want my days to look? Start with that, right? How do I want my day to look from the time I wake up to the time I lay down and close my eyes? What do I want my day to look like? What does that look like for me? How can I set up a schedule that not only allows me to get these things done, but gives me the flexibility and the freedom to move the way I need to move and to not be overwhelmed? So this is definitely one of the things that that I have been structuring very intentionally in my life. Like I have my CEO schedule, my CEO flow. That's what I call it, right? And so, going back to your question, right? The W-2 mindset is, I clock in, I clock out, right? I'm working for somebody else's vision. So there's certain things you don't have to think about when you're working for somebody else's vision. Not saying that there's anything wrong with that because everybody needs that at some point, right? Because you have to make income, let's be real. But at the same time, when you shift to entrepreneur mode, now you are the one that's solely responsible for building this vision. You are the one that has to clock in and build, right? You're not clocking in just to work, but you're clocking in to build. And it's a totally different type of mindset and a totally different type of energy. And so when you clock in, now you have to think about what are all the moving parts that it's going to take for this business to function and to move the way that it should, right? So that's the entrepreneur mindset. But then there's the business owner mindset, which says, okay, I'm clocking into my business today. And just like you clock into a job, you clock into your business. But now my mindset is, okay, what are the things that require my time that I have to be present for? And if I am not required to be present for it, how do I delegate the rest? How do I automate the rest? What tasks are currently on my plate that don't have to be done by me? So one thing that I was talking about recently in one of my other groups is how I literally started documenting. And I'm not saying you have to write this down necessarily. I use ChatGPT to help me with this. So that's a hint for you guys too. But I started taking the time to actually write out what I was doing during the days and setting tasks for myself on ChatGPT and then going back and checking to see, okay, Well, this is where I spent my time today. How much of this time did I really need to spend doing these tasks? What tasks do I not want to have to do anymore so I can actually focus on leading this business, right? So you take the time to document it and then focus on the things that require your presence, and then the things that don't. Is this something that I can delegate, or is this something that I could automate? Whether that's, email automations, task automations, whether that's hiring a virtual assistant to do some of these tasks that you don't want to have to do yourself, whatever it is, right? You have to be willing to take the time to go through your day, right? And so that mindset shift, the simple answer I can give you for how to shift it is, first, get to the place where you're ready to figure out, what does my life need to look like? What is the life that I want? And what does that look like? That's the first step. Once you figure out what you want that life to look like, then the next step is, okay, what daily steps can I take to start making this my reality? Okay? What can I do every single day to get closer to this goal? And so that's a part of it, automating, delegating, figuring out what needs your presence and what doesn't. That's a huge part of it, because that's how you get your time back, right? Another part of it is, what boundaries do I need to set in my business? That's a huge one too. How am I protecting my time? How am I protecting my focus and my energy? How am I protecting my business? As far as like my policies and my procedures. What am I putting in place to make sure that I am protecting me, that I'm protecting the life that I'm building? Okay, that's another thing to think about. Let me read some of these comments. Stephanie said, it's hard to think of not having a guaranteed paycheck with benefits to grinding to create your own income. Yeah, it's definitely a huge shift, right? Because one is guaranteed, like you said, and the other one is completely dependent on what you put in. So it's definitely different. But there's nothing wrong with starting off with the job, right? Use the guaranteed income to get you to a place where you can create your own income, and that's fine. But once you're at that place, that's where the mindset shift has to happen. Truly said, my W-2 mindset as a remote worker was to start work earlier than usual, clock out later than usual, sometimes working 12-hour shifts and paid for 8. Now it's different. Ooh, girl. Wait a minute. 12-hour shifts though? Mm-mm. Okay. Well, I'm glad it's different now. She said 12-hour shifts and paid for 8. No, ma'am. Mm-mm. No, no, no. We gotta, that needs to change for sure. But yeah, so how can I work smarter and not harder? Write that down. How can I work smarter and not harder? What does that look like for me? So back to the example I was giving with my CEO flow, right? So for those of us who aren't just an entrepreneur, but you also have other hats, like you're a mom, you're a wife, like you have other responsibilities as well. Managing your schedule is going to be so, so key to structuring the life that you want. And a lot of times we think of structure and discipline as something boring, but it's the ultimate form of self-respect and protection. The ultimate form. You can tell how much somebody respects themselves by how well they structure their life. Okay, so if you are taking notes, write that one down. It's the highest form of self-respect to have discipline. And so when you're disciplined in your day-to-day, you free up your time, right? Because you give yourself the ability to have these time blocks to get the things done that you need to get done, and then structure your life the way that you want to. So one of the things for me, as a mom, as a wife, as an entrepreneur with more than one more than one venture that I'm working on, right? I have to be very intentional about that. So I'll give you an example of what my schedule looks like on a day-to-day. And there's different, focuses for different days, but I'll just give you an example. So when I wake up in the morning, let's say 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., that's my personal devotion time. I start the day off feeding my spirit. That's super, super important for me. I cannot function properly without it. So that's my first hour block of the day. Second hour block, between 9 to 9:30, I'm doing, breakfast and devotion with my kids. After I do breakfast and devotion with my kids, we go do something exercise oriented, just to make sure that we're prioritizing our health. So whether that's going for a walk together and doing some cardio at every stop sign that we get to, whether that's doing an at-home workout. Sometimes we work out outside in the front on the lawn just to, get some grounding in at the same time, have the sunshine. And then after I do that, I get into my homeschooling mode because I'm a homeschool mom. So I homeschool my children for, at least 2 hours every single day, Tuesday through Friday. So we get our homeschooling block done. After homeschooling, then I get into business mode. So we have lunch at 12, then I get into business mode. So from 1 to 3 p.m., that is my uninterrupted focus block. I don't care what's going on. I am not being interrupted during 1 to 3 p.m. That's my time to be in CEO mode and do what needs to be done in the business, right? That's a non-negotiable for me. From 3 p.m. to about 6 p.m., that's when I have my appointment set. So any appointments that I have for the day will normally fall between those times. And the way I've structured my calendar, people don't really get to me unless it's something important. So I only have important meetings from 3 to 6 p.m. and client meetings every single day. Okay. Another thing that I've done is after 6 p.m., I'm back in mom mode. I'm cooking dinner, getting the kids ready for bed. After 8 p.m., I have a whole other focus of things that I'm doing. So I've structured my life, and I've actually put in rest into my schedule as well to make sure that I'm prioritizing the things that I need and also getting my responsibilities done. So that's what it looks like for me. It could be different for you, right? Everybody's different. But I'm just giving an example of how to be intentional with your time because it's so important. And by doing that, I make sure that everything that requires my attention gets done during the week. But I also schedule my days for rest. And this is where it gets fun, right? So Mondays, I'm closed for business. I'm not taking any calls. I'm not working with any clients. I'm not doing anything I don't want to do on Mondays. That is my day. That is my time. I am free. Okay. Monday is my free day. Sundays are my family day. That's the time when everything else gets shut out and I spend time with my family. I pour into my kids. We hang out, have fun together. It's a very intentional time, right? So my weekend is Sunday and Monday. Saturdays, there's other things that I'm doing, right? Either client work or sometimes like I'll just be, hanging out or doing whatever I want to do. But I have a specific time block for work and a specific time block to wind down on Saturdays, getting into Sundays. So I've structured my life in a way that frees me, is my whole point. So whatever that looks like for you, start getting intentional about what you want your day to look like and what you want to prioritize. Okay. So that's definitely one first step that you can do. Because not only does it put everything into perspective, but it literally shows you that it is possible to live the life that you want, right? And I've learned that because I used to be one of those people, right, that thought that you had to just try to get everything done in one day. But when you break things into time blocks like that and you give yourself tasks and break it into day by day by day, you actually get a lot more accomplished in those few focused hours than you do sitting there trying to force yourself to work through a whole 8-hour time block. I'm going to be so honest with you. You get so much more done. Your mind is fresh. You're focused on that task. You get it done and you move on to the next thing. So that has been really effective for me. Those are some tips that I can give you guys. I haven't really talked about this before, so I'm actually happy that we're talking about this tonight. But that's just some suggestions I can make. Let me read back some of these comments. Grind time. I hear you. Ladonica said time blocks are so key. They really are. Like it changed my life for sure. Rest is important. Rest is a part of my strategy. It is very strategic. You have to give yourself that downtime to rest, to recharge, to make sure that you are able to hear and get instruction from God the way that you need to. It is key. Okay. Family days are so important as well. You give your family that intentional time that they need. My kids always look forward to it. That's important too. So you figure out how to prioritize what is most important to you. That's my whole point. Stephanie said, my rest day and family day is Saturday. My CEO day is Sunday. I love that. Love that for you. Yeah. So start structuring your life. Structure your life the way you want it. You have complete permission to do that. You have full permission to build the life that you want. I don't know who needed to hear that, but you have permission to build the life that you want. Yeah, Sean, use smaller time blocks if you need to. You'll still get it done. Being consistent every single day will get you much further than trying to burn yourself out every single day. I promise you. Block out that time. It's key. What other questions do you guys have about making that shift from entrepreneur to CEO, from grinding to governing? Use me while you have me, guys. We're here till about what, 9 o'clock? Yep, block out that time, Moses. I love it. What other questions do you guys have about what that could look like for you? Let's make it more personal. The kingdom must have order. Exactly. Establish order in your life. 100%. Okay. Any other questions about that specifically? Let me ask you guys this. When you think about the life that you want, what do you see? What do you picture? Let's do some visualizing. Put it in the comments for me. What does your dream life look like? What is the life that you are building? What do you want to see in it? Sean said, this is helping me. Daddy's business ran him. Yeah, we're in a totally different age. Totally different age. You don't need your business to run you. You run your business, right? It's not worth it to burn yourself out, overwork yourself, stress yourself out. It's not worth it. Now, I'm not saying that there's not a certain level of work ethic that's going to be required to get to where you're going, because you literally have to, at times, be borderline obsessed with your vision, right? So I'm not negating that at all. But what I am saying is that when you structure your life in a way that is fulfilling the vision that you have, that is prioritizing the things that matter to you, it doesn't feel stressful. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like purpose. Oh, you're welcome, Stephanie. She said, thank you so much for this open conversation. Yeah, I think sometimes we just need to be real. We just need to talk about what we need to talk about as leaders, right? Moses said, build with the future in mind. Absolutely. That's one of my slogans, actually, build with the end in mind. Mm-hmm. So what do you envision? Talk to me, guys. What do you envision? Okay, here we go. Stephanie said, when I think about the life I want, I envision peace and calmness. I envision more time with my family. I envision lives being changed by the education that I provide and changing the trajectory of the next generation. That's beautiful. I love that. You started with peace and calmness. I'm here for it. More time with your family. Lives being changed. Wow. And that's the thing. So for those that don't know, I'm gonna plug you in, Stephanie. For those that don't know, Stephanie is, she does budgeting, she does notary services, she does so many things, right? But what I love about what Stephanie does is the passion behind it, right? She is so adamant about helping families to live the life that they want. And so exactly, Sean. Properly done, when your life is properly structured, you won't be stressed. That's so true. But yeah, so like she's really big on helping families, and I think the part where you said changing lives through education, that's exactly what you're doing. So you already have the pieces. It's just a matter of making sure that you're building your life in a way that doesn't feel draining, a life that you don't need a vacation from every 5 seconds, right? That's the main thing. You're welcome, Stephanie. But yeah, what does that life look like for you? And you said something very important too, Stephanie. You said, um, at one point you said freedom, I think, right? Like creating that freedom. Freedom is a big part of the reason we all got into this. Freedom. The freedom to lead, the freedom to delegate, the freedom to build, the freedom to have options in life, to be able to make the choices that we want to make, to have access to the things that we want to enjoy, right? Freedom is a big part of that. And another thing, too, I don't know why I feel this, but it's okay to want money. It's okay to want the options that come with the money. And it's okay to want to build a better life for yourself. Like, yes, the businesses that we build are a solution to a problem, right? They're a solution to somebody's problem that exists in the world, whether it's, a problem for businesses or whoever that, we're called to serve. But at the same time, it's okay to want money for yourself and for your family as well, right? It's mutually beneficial. You created a solution that people need, but that also serves your legacy and your family and your dreams, right? And that's the whole point of this. So don't ever feel guilty for wanting to benefit from what you've built. Moses said, time freedom to express my dreams through myself and others. What I want is families to live the life they dream while working for me and employ other entrepreneurs and serve other leaders. I love that, especially creating opportunities. That's basically what you're saying, creating opportunities for other entrepreneurs. That's huge, right? Now you're talking about actually feeding the economy, creating opportunities. I love that. That's thinking big. That's big picture thinking. All right. What else did you guys say? Sean said, peace, provision, freedom to be with family and travel as I build legacy. I love that, Sean, especially the travel. I love that for you. Peace and provision. Absolutely. And it's okay to want all these things. These are beautiful dreams, beautiful things to envision. Stephanie said, time and financial freedom. Absolutely. Especially that time, getting your time back. That's the ultimate flex for me. The more time that I have and still making the money, that's the ultimate flex, right? Jules said, the life I want is a life where I fully embraced my talents, skills, purpose, and everything else about me. You know what? I love that for you, Jewel. I really do. And as you should, right? You should fully embrace all those things because they're all a part of who you are. Jill said, wow, I needed that. I found myself shaming myself for wanting money. Girl, not around here. We don't do that over here. Don't ever shame yourself for wanting to benefit from what you've built. Okay? There's a reward for you too. Moses said, create a community that doesn't depend on the economy, but we become the okay, now you talking my language, Moses. You're speaking my language. Kingdom economy. That's what it's all about. Sean said, spot on, Jewel. Exactly. Right? So that's what we all started this for, to create this freedom. Right? So why are we letting ourselves feel guilty for trying to figure out how to build a life that affords us these things? Don't ever do that to yourself. You deserve to benefit from it. It's okay to benefit from it, especially if you have a heart to serve others and you built it to serve others. It's okay for you to benefit from it too. Okay? It's okay. And that's, I think, don't want to go here. I think some of that can also be religious conditioning a lot of times too, like to think that like there's something wrong with also receiving, like there's something wrong with mutually beneficial relationships, right? I think it's okay. I think any relationship in your life should be mutually beneficial, right? There's nothing wrong with wanting that at all. Moses said, bring me the money. I hear you. Okay. So we did a little bit of talking about our visions, right? And what it is that we want. So what does that look like for you? What change can you make today to start taking back control of your time, taking back control of your schedule, taking back control of the life that you're building? What's one thing that you think you can do? I talked about my schedule. That's one thing that helped me. Another thing that helped me was having a boundary code for my life, right? So in business, of course, we talked about policies and procedures and how to set that up a little bit, right? So making sure that you are prepared for possible scenarios. You have things in place to protect your time, to protect your schedule. So like, for example, right, one of the things that I do that's been really beneficial for me, I pre-qualify people before they get on my calendar. Pre-qualifying is huge in business, right? You need to screen people so they don't waste your time. Screen people to see, is this the type of client that I'm trying to work with? Right? Is this person serious about moving forward? Are they serious about their goals? Because what you don't want to do is keep having people fill up your calendar that aren't serious. So pre-qualifiers are important, right? That's another way to protect yourself in business and your boundaries. I've also created what I call a boundary code for my life. And in that boundary code, I have literally taken the time to think about different scenarios, different things that cross my boundaries. So first I name it, and then I decide what I'm going to do to enforce it, right? And so this code that I've written, it's basically a standard for how I live my life. So I know that, okay, if somebody crosses this boundary, this is the response that I'm going to have to it. This is my way of responding to it, right? This is my way of enforcing it. And if they continue to try to cross that boundary, this is the result. So I created a code in my life that even I have to be subject to. So regardless of how I feel about that relationship or feel about that person, if the code says it's time to let it go, it's time to let it go. But I created a standard, I created a law for my life and for my relationships. Mm-hmm. Pre-qualify before access. Absolutely, Sean. Absolutely. Protect that schedule. But that's something that I've done, and it has saved me so much heartache, so much time, so much headache in dealing with people and relationships, to have a clear code and a clear way of dealing with things. Right? So that's another thing that I put in place in my life that has been so instrumental for me. Jules said, I'm taking notes. Yeah, for sure. Right? You need to start mapping out what you want your life to look like, set a standard for yourself, and then enforce that standard. That's what governing is about, right? It's not just about having control, but it's about having a standard for your life that even you have to be subject to. And if you want to take it biblical for a second, if I can go biblical, right? Back in Bible times, right? Anytime that there was a decree and the king made a decree, even the king himself had to be subject to that law. So when we talk about kingdom mentality, when we talk about ruling, when we talk about governing, we're talking about not just the ability to create a legislation for your own life, but also the ability to enforce that standard and uphold that standard. That's a part of leadership, right? That responsibility, not just the rights, but also the responsibility that comes with it to enforce that standard. So those are some examples that I can give you guys. Like I said, it's my first time talking about some of this, but I definitely recommend those things. So creating boundaries for your life and a boundary code, um, pre-qualifying people, having your pre-qualifiers, whether that's, your intake form when people go to book a call with you, have those pre-qualifiers. Like, what is your budget? How soon are you willing to get started? Like, putting things like that in there are so important to make sure that you're attracting people that are ready, right? So pre-qualifiers is another thing. Taking control of your schedule is another thing. What else can I give you guys? Some other tips I can give you guys. Sean said, please do. Let me think. Anything else I can share with you guys? I know we have like a couple more minutes left. Jewel said, I need that. How can I master something like that when I have such an open heart to people? Your problem is not that you have an open heart, Jewel. And this is going to be tough love, okay? Love you, girl. I do. Having a big heart, having an open heart is not an issue. It's only when that comes with a lack of boundaries. So I always say, if you have a big heart, you need bigger boundaries. Because as much as you want to give to people and as much as you want to love on people and as sweet and kind as you are, people are going to take as much as they're willing to give. So you have to determine, what is the stopping point? How do I protect myself from overgiving to the point of draining myself? How do I protect my pour so that way my cup is never on empty and I'm constantly pouring from a place of overflow and not depletion? You have to set that standard for yourself. Moses said, you better get biblical up in here. Listen, these principles are timeless, okay? If we only apply them. All right, I got about 1 more minute, guys. Any final questions before we go? Because I'm going to have to wrap it up. That's right, Sean. Big hearts need bigger boundaries. Absolutely. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Well, this was fun. Totally impromptu conversation tonight, but I appreciate y'all for talking with me, for sure. I'm looking out for any final questions before I go. But yeah, so yes, definitely, Sean, protect your poor. So yeah, guys, so we didn't have our intended conversation tonight, and that is cool. I'm definitely going to be bringing Jared A. Birch back another time so that we can have that conversation. But I definitely wanted to just check in, see how everybody's doing, and just kind of just, pour into you guys, because this is normally our week for me to pour and just make sure you guys are okay, see what you guys need from me. So I pray that this was a blessing to you. I pray that you benefited from this conversation. And if you think of any other questions when I get off, just go ahead and put them in the comments for me. I'll try to circle back and answer as many as I can. But definitely appreciate you guys for hopping on tonight. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Jewel. Appreciate you guys. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay. All right. I don't see any other questions, but I appreciate you guys once again. Be on the lookout tomorrow. I have another conversation that I'm going to be doing. I have 2 guests joining me. It's called Ask the Author. So it's not your typical like how to write a book event, But instead, what I wanted to do, I wanted to create a space where we could talk about how to take your story, how to take your message and turn it into a movement. How do you take what you've been through and create a movement around it that other people can rally behind and support? So definitely tune in for that conversation tomorrow at 8 o'clock if you are available. It's going to be on my Facebook page, I think. So hopefully I get that Facebook issue figured out tonight so we can do that tomorrow. But yeah, definitely, check that out tomorrow. And if you guys think of any questions, put them in the comments for me, okay? Appreciate you guys so much. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, truly. Oh, you're so welcome, Patricia. I'll keep this up so if you came in late, you can watch from the beginning, okay? I appreciate you guys. Have a good night.